Very recently, of course, we trialled the Institute for the Healing of Racism here in New Zealand for the very first time. How do you think it worked, taking an American program and plonking it down here in New Zealand? Did that work okay?
I found it very interesting because from one of the reasons that I was brought to this country was to address racism as it affects health professionals and how it affects health professionals working with out in the indigenous population. But that was their perspective, from their perspective. So when we did the Institute and we talked to some of the people that were actually dealing with racism in this country, even though it's not as blatant as in our country, in the United States, it came out that they did experience it, which a lot of people were like, it's very subtle in this country as opposed to in the United States. So that was one of the most interesting things I found, is that the subtleties of the racism.
One of the things that we discussed on Saturday at the Institute was how racism is perpetuated. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Some of the stories that came out were talking about dealing with children of mixed marriages and how one child may be lighter than the other. And one individual was talking about how difficult it was for the darker child, because the darker child experienced much more racism than the lighter child, whereas the lighter child could pass as white, and oftentimes did, whether he didn't, as when you're 7, you don't really think about passing, you just think about fitting in.